Okay, so abortion. Here's the thing. I want to give you my reasonings why I think that that is less and less true. Even if they genuinely believe it in their own mind, their conscious mind, I think subconsciously they know that that's not true. And I'll give you some of my reasonings. First of all, just my own personal feeling. And I think many of you might agree, when you're passionate about something, you tend to learn all you can about it. And you want to understand like all angles of this issue so you can better understand your position. And the fact that there's absolutely no appetite to understand the other side, it doesn't seem to me that they're genuinely interested in learning anything. But I do think that they do have this kind of like Christian warrior or warrior for Jesus kind of complex. I think they like being in a group. I think it makes them feel important, and I think that they like it on Facebook and doing all those other things. So those are not bad things, but I just think it's important that we start having open conversations and just saying, look, this is how I see it. Here's the thing: you could be pro-life and be honest about the fact that women do not have elective abortions in the ninth month. And I think saying that, I think for presidential candidate or any politician or anybody to spew those lies, I think it demonizes women, but I also think it's stupid. I just think it's stupid. I mean, I have not been pregnant, but I think, I'm smart enough to understand what that entails. And one of those arguments, and I'd like you to really think about this if you haven't thought about it already, to make this argument, is that, and I always say, ask questions. Put it in a question form, like Tucker Carlson, right? So I'm trying to understand: you want me to believe that a woman who could have gotten rid of this pregnancy in the first trimester, right? And most people do, by the way, statistically speaking, but you can't go into statistics because they don't care. But so they could have, as soon as they found out, fourth week, eighth week, 12th week, 20th week, whatever, they could have had this abortion way before they started to show. So I'm just trying to understand. You're saying to me that somebody made the choice to get fat, right? So how many clothes did you have to buy when you were pregnant? And not to mention, don't your feet swell? Aren't you incredibly uncomfortable? Don't you have trouble sleeping? Doesn't this take a tremendous toll on your body to get to be 9 months pregnant, 8 months pregnant, 7 months pregnant, whatever, last trimester, right? You're saying that somebody just forgot to have an abortion and then said, oops, oh my God, I'm at the ninth month. I didn't notice as I'm out here waddling around, right? And they just go, oh, well, better go down to the clinic. The stupidity of it is what's angering. That's what's so stupid. And what makes me mad about the Democrats is they don't call it out. They don't say like, so you're just saying somebody just forgot to get an abortion in the ninth month and was like, oops, okay, let's go. So that's not what is happening. What's happening is that woman with her doctor has found out that she no longer has a viable pregnancy. And instead of doing what's humane for the child, right? Instead of having, if it survives, live in pain and suffering, which is just so cruel. It's the cruelty of that makes me so angry because just, to me, I don't know how that doesn't make a pro-life person just cringe when they talk about babies. But what that does to a family from a financial standpoint, from an emotional standpoint, from what it does to your body, like not being able to possibly have children again, because your body's not supposed to, effectively carry a baby to term. I mean, it probably would be healthier to terminate a fetus if it's not viable. So that's number one. Now, from a legislative point of view, this is the other reason why factually it shows that they don't care. Just like Donald Trump has said, and just like every pro-lifer I've known, they have wanted this for 50 years, right? Since Roe became the law of the land. They've been fighting for this. The pro-life organization is extremely well equipped to lobby in government, right? They're effective, and they got a president elected based on his promise to put 3 Supreme Court judges in place to overturn this. And I say that because it's important to make the point that these people are powerful people. They hold a lot of sway and they can get shit done. So the fact that they didn't work collectively with their legislative partners to work on putting together a national adoption program, boom. Okay. You put nothing in place, no safety net, nothing. So I don't even want to argue whether or not government forced childbirth is something we should have or something we should not have. Let's not even argue that particular issue. Let's just argue the disingenuousness or dishonesty of this movement. Because if it was true that this was something that people really wanted, and they really wanted it because they cared about the children, and that's the argument that they're making, then they would have worked to put together a full national adopt program. They also would have put legislation in place at the same time to make sure that the men were accountable as well, but they did not do that. So those are two issues that are stark to me that just show that this is completely 100% an assault on women. It's a way to keep them down, to oppress them, to give them less opportunity, because as they are making them carry babies to term, they're also taking away diversity programs and opportunities to get ahead that, women and people of color didn't have before. So it's one thing. And I think, look at, if they want, then just be honest about it. Then let's have an honest conversation about why that thinking is dangerous not for the minorities and the women that you clearly don't care about, but for you. It's dangerous for you. And let me tell you why. And then you can have different debate, because the debate, when you're debating somebody who's completely dishonest, either purposefully dishonest or dishonest because they've just adopted willful ignorance, they want to be able to sleep at night and they can't bring themselves to actually, tell the truth to themselves, let alone you, then I think we need to try to help them get to a place of honesty and a place of self-realization that this is how we see you. And this is maybe why we have a hard time having dinner with you or having you over for family gatherings or continuing a relationship, because I see you as somebody who supports oppressing me. Or if you're a man and you're watching this, my daughter, my wife, our children, our grandchildren. And that really makes me incredibly angry. And I was okay with it when I thought you had more of a noble goal or a noble cause. At least in your heart you did. Even if I thought the whole movement was bullshit, I at least in your heart thought you had a noble cause. And I see that you don't have a noble cause. That whether you consciously or subconsciously know it, either way, those are the choices you make to not have self-realization. So the fact that they don't take time to understand, it means, one, that they're not that interested in it, because what it does, if you are on the right side of it, or if you think that your convictions are right, what it did for me anyway is, one, it gave me some insight. I didn't know about the 9 months thing. I really didn't know whether women were having elective abortions at 9 months or not till I looked into it, till I did some research. And I found that that was true, even though there is propaganda out there. And I did see that propaganda. I see what they see. I know what they're watching, but they didn't go and, like, part of how you really instill your ideology, right, is by looking at both sides. And what I did was, when looking at both sides, it actually gave me more conviction, more information, and more ability to think critically about the whole thing. And it took me years. I mean, this didn't happen overnight. It took years to think about this issue. And the thing that people try to say, well, if you really cared about children, you wouldn't be against gun safety law, like red flag laws. Like, they try to put those two things together. And although they absolutely 100% make sense, like, duh, right? Like, that just seems like a no-brainer. It's unmovable to them. So, and this will be unmovable too, just so you know. It will 100% be unmovable. But the point is, it's not about them. It's about us. We're having different conversations. We're having honest conversations about the truth of what's happening. And we have information to back up our proof that they have nothing to say, because this is true. When the opportunity comes to expand Medicaid in some of these states, they choose not to do that. Expanding Medicaid helps with prenatal care. And they have the money. They have the Medicaid money there, billions of dollars sitting in a fund for them. They just 100% don't want to do it because it was Obamacare. The other thing is that this would have been great for them to put some kind of work program, education program, put together. Like, if I said, if there's an adoption program, you can have a community where they can feel safe, if they actually put in place these opportunities. But there's absolutely no desire to do that. And the reason that there's no desire is because if you don't put some sort of system in, not to cradle people and keep them down, but to lift them up, what's going to keep people down is hopelessness, is poverty, is to work every day and not being able to make another step on that corporate ladder, just to keep doing the same thing over and over again. So if they really cared about this issue, we would see them supporting things like affordable childcare, health insurance for all, or at least for people in that situation. There's just so many things that they would get behind to save the babies. If it's all in the name of saving the babies, then they should be supporting taxing the wealthy to pay for these babies, right? And the fact that they have no appetite to do anything but to force women to bring their pregnancy to term, the fact that they have absolutely no appetite or no desire, proven so time and time again, just makes the whole argument just disingenuous. So that's my point. I don't know if you got some good talking points. When you're having these conversations, try really hard to stay calm, but don't shy away from them. And I would say sometimes don't try to say you. Talk about, I mean, I might have done that. We get passionate about it, but try to use like abstract, like this group of people who, we know that they're a part of that group, but let's not make it personal. And I think if we can try to have these conversations above the fray in a more general sense, then people can be more open to hearing it. But I also think that if you have these conversations with people, at least when they're around you, they may stop saying certain things that trigger you, that like, for a fact that they're full of shit. They might just stop saying stuff and at least have some respect for your boundaries. And if that's the one thing we accomplish that can start building our relationships again with our family and friends, then that's a pretty big deal, in my opinion. So anyway, thanks for listening. Bye.